2, 1. And we welcome you in to the best podcast available. We are back. Player day off yesterday. Moose is running through the building with his leash in his mouth. All hell is breaking loose. Dogs and cats are living together. Mass hysteria. I'm Gibbs. He's Gribbs. He's Shook. And this is day number 6 of training camp. I don't know how I remembered that, but I did. Gentlemen, boys, back on the field today. I had a little dispute with Gribble. I thought it was a little lethargic. Gribble disagreed. Gribble?
I definitely didn't think it was lethargic. I think that might have been sloppy in parts, but I thought that of the practices we've seen so far, I would put this at like the second most physical of camp, maybe even the first. I thought they just did a lot of team stuff, and that's what made it a little more entertaining to me than it was on Monday. Monday, I think they just hit a wall, and I think they came out pretty fresh today. And as I heard John Dorsey talking on NFL Network just a little bit ago, this is the kind of situation, this is the kind of practice where it's based around putting players in stressful situations. And I think we saw a lot of that. Sometimes the team did well. Other times, as we saw at the end, not so well. And I think that we heard from Freddie after practice. He definitely wasn't thrilled about the practice, but I wouldn't say he was overall too upset about it, because I did think the intensity was where it needed to be.
I think you probably got the vibe of a lethargic practice early, because they did come out slow.
It was slow.
There was a moment, I think it was maybe the first play of the first team period, where there was a nice block on the inside, a handoff to Dontrell Hilliard. He cut off it really well and ran for a touchdown. And Freddie immediately got into the defensive players' faces about it and said, hey, that's – we're not going to accept that. Wake up. You had a day off. You're not off anymore. Play like you're supposed to play. And then he got into Taki's face and said, "Get the call, Taki!" Let's go. Get him going. You might be a rookie, but you're an energy provider. You're a leader with your physicality and your voice and everything else. Get them going, because obviously people needed woken up. And I think they did wake up and have a physical practice. I thought it was the most physical practice of all of these so far, especially being close to the action. There was a point where Derek Willis was split out wide to the left and came down and blocked somebody at the second level. And Derek's not the thickest guy. He's tall, but he put a good pop into someone. And I got myself going, whoa, okay, Willis. I mean, and that's kind of the tone of the practice. People were hitting pretty hard.
It was not a bad day then?
No, it depends on who you were.
Well, yeah, they were.
We can get to that later, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, let's just get the 1,000-pound gorilla out right now. Kickers did not exactly light the world on fire today.
That was a good start for them, right? I mean,
yeah.
If I was keeping track at home, they were making their non-pressure kicks.
I think, what was it, 8 for 8 or 7 for 8, something like that?
8 for 8 with the doink that for the second straight time for Seibert was fortunate. There was he's playing the uprights well, but it was when the pressure kicks came down at the end of practice where it just hasn't gone well. Even the one that did go in didn't get off on time. So do we count that as zero makes in pressure situations?
It's a zero make, because I think if I recall, Freddie was yelling, "We just lost because you couldn't get out here on time. We lost the game. The Browns lost.
The Browns lose again because you guys are stupid," is what he said.
Cleaning it up.
Because they couldn't get set in the right spot at the right time. But, I mean, it is a small improvement. Monday was bad. Monday they couldn't hit anything for the majority of the day. At least in the earlier session they did hit those kicks. But, yeah, still got to work in the pressure situations. I think it's all part of figuring out a kicking competition in which, there's no clear leader, and it appears as though both guys are struggling with what I think is the most mentally grueling position in football. Not physically, definitely not physically, but mentally, as being a kicker, because your entire job rests on whether or not you can make a kick. And the many different factors that weigh into this, sometimes they're not considered. It's like golf. I compare it to golf. You're battling against yourself as much as you are against the other 11 guys in the field. So, it's a tough thing. And Freddie said it too, day by day. He'd really like to go kick by kick, but at least day by day. And today, not a good day, but not the worst day.
He said it too. You have to have a short memory.
Yeah.
And I felt like our guys were definitely affected by those misses, because they went over to the secondary field for the day and were working, and it was getting worse before it got a little bit better at the end of practice when they were kicking against nobody, and they had the ball just on the holder.
Sometimes you got to just take a step and walk away and recollect yourself before you go back at it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we've seen it go both ways here with kicking competitions, and at least in my time here, I've seen it go two different ways, but the end result has never been great when the season comes. I've seen kicking competitions here between two kickers that didn't miss the entire camp. I thought, was it a couple years ago, Zane Gonzalez and Cody Parkey? They didn't miss very much. And then you get to the season, didn't go so well.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, and we've seen some other ones where, was it who is the guy, the local guy? He had the nickname, was
from
it
Mayfield.
Yeah, Murder Leg.
That was his nickname?
Yes.
That was and he went up against Travis Coons. And Travis Coons.
I cannot remember the kid's
Oh,
name.
it's on the tip of my tongue.
Travis Coons won the competition.
Yep.
And then got to the season, was doing all right, but then once you extended him out a little bit beyond 40 yards, it's where it got a little dicey.
The low kicks.
And then so you ended up with looking for another kicker again for the next year. I mean, this team has had different types of competitions. This one so far has not gone great. It's not a choice of, gosh, all these guys are making them, we have to pick who's making them better. Now we're getting to the point where all of a sudden these preseason games matter a lot more than I thought they would for this kicking competition, because I think that's where we're going to figure out who maybe has it or doesn't, and that's where it gets tricky. You can't force field goals in situations in a game. I mean, in the preseason, if you're one of these kickers, you could be on the wrong end of the stick and not get any kick attempts in games. So that's why these practice ones are so important. But we're a long way away from a decision.
It's going to bother me that I can't remember this guy's name, but maybe this is just hopefully
Dribble's looking
a case of Casey Redfern. He's popping up, but I know it's not that name.
Kerry Spear.
That's it.
What was it?
Great high school kicker.
Kerry Spear.
Great college
See,
kicker.
that's kind of close to Casey. All right, I wasn't that far off. But maybe it's just a case of bad dress rehearsal, great performance. Fingers crossed. I don't know. We got a lot of camp to go.
I mean, Greg Joseph made some big kicks for this team. Austin Seibert made a ton of kicks at Oklahoma at a place that it's not like he was kicking in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
He made some pressure kicks. These guys have it in them. All these kickers have it in them. All these kickers that get drafted, whether they make it or not, all these kickers that get signed, they were good at some point. And really, for them, they go through the least amount of change from college to NFL. They are still doing the same thing no matter what. Maybe the hashes are a little bit different.
Yeah,
it's actually a little bit more narrow.
Yeah.
But what the movement you are doing it's the same. Like every other player has to go through a much bigger adjustment. It's just the mental adjustment.
All right, so we've talked about some good, some not so good game balls. If you had to throw one out here today, who would get one? Gribbs, we'll start with you.
You know, I'm going to go with it's one we keep going back to. I just think it's Dontrell Hilliard. Like, the guy keeps making plays, like, over and over and over again. Like, he's a part of this offense. Let's get used to it. Not just a kick returner, not just a third running back. He will be a part of this offense. It becomes clearer every day we're out there. He was playing this well in the spring, but now he's taking advantage even more of these running back injuries in front of him. Just get to know him. He's going to be a part of this team.
I'm going to surprise the people with this one. Today, Greedy Williams got his first run with the ones and played pretty well for the most part. Got burned once by Rashard Higgins. But I'm not going to go with Greedy. I'm going to go with Terrence Mitchell because this is a guy who had to give up his spot to Greedy today and ran with the twos and had a really, really good practice.
He was everywhere.
He was all over the field.
Yeah.
And some guys will wilt in that scenario. Terrence Mitchell appears to be a fighter, and he's going to keep fighting for that job.
I feel like he was in that spot last year before he was moved up to the first team.
He started the camp at second team.
Good. I do remember that. My brain's not totally mush right now. But he had a great training camp. He was a guy that just made plays every day. Like, you came off and you said, came off the field and said, he's a guy that stood out to you as a guy making plays. And it worked him, was able, once he got the forward momentum going, now he's in the starting lineup and he's really playing well.
I wonder if it's different with this competition. Like, I'm sure whoever's battling for that starting job wants to be the starter. But what makes this one different from the right guard competition is with the right guard, it's like there's a clear winner and a clear loser. Like, the right guard's going to play every snap. Whoever doesn't win the competition, probably not going to play much. With this competition, someone's going to start, but these other guys are still going to play. And I wonder if that takes the pressure off a little bit for someone like Terrence Mitchell. Like, he knows if he's not the starting corner on this team, he's still going to play a bunch. And there's going to be games that he's going to start. I mean, we know with injuries at this position, So I think what it's showing to me is this team has 4 really good corners. And now it's a matter of finding the 5th and 6th ones and then figuring out where they work best.
See, I would like to subscribe to that theory that you're still going to play, but there's so much pride involved with these guys that I would be really hard pressed to be convinced that starting job doesn't mean something to him. I think it means more to Terrence Mitchell than it would to Greedy Williams, just because Greedy's a rookie. He's kind of just taking everything as it comes to him. Terrence has been in this league. This is not his first team, and this is not his first camp in which he's had to battle for a starting job. And I think that it probably means more to him. He definitely played today, especially, like it means a lot to him. So I think it's a pride thing, and hopefully it continues to fuel what has been a pretty good competition.
My game ball would go to Nick Chubb, who continues to have a really, really solid camp. I mean, we talk about Hilliard. Chubb's playing lights out. He's in midseason form already when you watch him play. And through some of those tackle, 11 on 11, full contact, he really elevated his game. You could see. I mean, it's the same thing with Baker. Both of those guys, you can see them during practice where they're going through a drill and maybe they don't look as sharp, but it's because they're working on things. Or they're working on I'm working on this cut, not necessarily wanting to be the best right now. I'm trying to figure out what's going to work for me and what's not. But then when it's like game on, 11 on 11, and go, he is just lights out and has been for the last 6 days.
I think we've seen that progression from the offense so far. I think it's kind of on display in the last couple days, and I think even more today, where even when when Baker was under pressure, he still found a way to escape the pocket, step up, make a throw, that kind of thing, or maybe scramble for a gain. So over time, the defense is providing challenges, and yes, they're hitting bumps in the road, but they're getting better at it with each day, and they're getting what looks to be more comfortable within this offense. And for just a grand scheme of things, it looks like as a unit they're improving, which is encouraging.
I'm throwing in a bonus game ball in there because I don't think we'd ever give him one because I think Baker was really good today.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really?
This was, I think, his best. He had some of his best throws of camp today.
Yeah.
And he was really stretching the field a lot. It's just, it's not coming as easy for them because they're going up against a really good defense. And I think that's why it gets overlooked and we're going after some of these niche areas on the team. But this guy's a star and he had a great practice today. A lot of really good accurate throws downfield.
It's a defense, by the way. Pat Kerwin, NFL analyst for XM Sirius and former NFL exec, was on Browns Daily today and said, I spent yesterday with the Patriots. I spent a few days with some of the top defenses here since camp started. Your defense is 2 weeks ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, and that's how they've played.
That's pretty impressive.
And for the offense to kind of catch up should be really, really encouraging.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, so that's what happened today. Day number 6 here at training camp in Berea. For the rest of what happened today, make sure you download the best podcast available wherever you get your podcast or at clevelandbrowns.com. For Andrew Gribble, for Nick Shook, I'm Jason Gibbs.